Hello and welcome to Excel Essentials. In this session, we'll be covering the trim formula. The trim formula is used to trim unnecessary spaces between words. And here, as you can see, there are a lot of spaces between characters and so on. And as you see, we've got a couple phrases or sentences here as well, which have lots of unnecessary spaces in between. Now what we could do is select on the cell and do the manual deleting of all of these, but it would just take us a lot of time to do this, especially if there was lots of data. So we're just going to undo that, and we're going to use the trim formula. There's only one parameter for the trim function, and that is just the text that you're entering. So it will be your cell, for example. So here we've got a table, and what we're going to do is we're going to do equals trim, and we're going to open that brackets. Then we're going to select our cell, and then we're going to close the brackets and hit enter. Now, when I hit enter, because it's a table, it will overwrite all the cells in that column to use that formula and calculate a response. And that will give you your column C, as we see here, now in column D, in our trim spaces column, all with one space between each block of text. Now we're going to use the trim function in the same way, but to do something slightly different. So we're going to pair up the trim function with the substitute function. Now the substitute function has three parameters. It will be the text you want to perform an action on, then you'll input the old text that you wish to replace, and then you put in the new text that you want to replace the old text. It's a formula version of the replace element in Excel. Now we're going to start off with the trim function, and we're just going to go straight from the basics here. We've got some phone numbers and we need to remove these spaces, so we have a phone number that is legible. So we're going to do equals trim, and we're going to open the bracket, and then we're going to be selecting the cell. Now, once we hit enter, you can see it's removed the spaces that were at the start and at the end of each of the cells. And as you can also see, there's still this one space in between. So this is where the substitute function will need to come into place. And for that, we're just going to hit F2 on our keyboards, and we're going to bring up the editing of the current cell, and we're going to type in substitute. Now we've got our formula for the trim, and we're going to keep that as the first parameter, which is text. And as you see, as I hover over the word text, we can see the response that the trim function returns, which is 954 space 567877 space 2. Now we're going to hit comma at the end of this formula, and here is where we'll put in the old text we wish to replace. So we're going to do a speech mark, a space, and a speech mark to close that, to highlight that we want to pull on the space element. So wherever there's a space in that cell, we want to replace that with what we're going to put in next. So then we're going to do comma, and then here is where we'll put what we want to replace that space with. Now we want to get rid of the space entirely, and we can do that by just putting two speech marks together, which means we're replacing it with nothing. Now once we close that bracket and hit enter, we can now see it's recalculated the formula in the whole column as it's a table, and all the spaces are gone. Stay tuned for more Excel Essentials.